Hello, hello, hello. All right. Welcome back, everyone. We are on season 2, episode 22, um, or however, whatever the episode is of Witch Please, Sunshine's Guide to the Mystical. And I'm excited to be back. My aim is to do these once a week, but let's be real, I provide myself a lot of grace, and especially right now because uh right now, 2024 is kicking my energetic ass. Yeah. So I've been burning the candle at two ends for what probably is months now. Probably, I don't know, probably about for the last 5 months. And it's really hard to even stay motivated at this point, even though I know there's plenty of things that I want to be doing, I love to be doing. It's really hard to stay motivated because all I want to do is kind of sleep and rest and kind of try to relax. I think my energetic system is definitely on overload. So, whew, and I'm not going to say that this isn't for all the right and the good reasons, right? I'm not this. Don't consider me sharing this or expressing this as me complaining. It's for all of the right reasons. I have a corporate job right now that I absolutely love. I love very, very much and enjoy doing it, enjoy going there. But that's 3 whole days out of my week. That means I'm not engaged and kind of working on this stuff and, being here to show up for all of you lovely folks and what I really, really, really not just love to do, but like, it's part of my soul. Um, but I've got that. I was invited to begin teaching some classes, some spiritual classes at a local public school. So they have an adult education program. And so I'm teaching there. I led some programming at a convention this past weekend and participated as an attendee. And so, all of this, like this kind of burning the candle at two ends and being a bit energetically tapped, is for all good reason, all the right reason, which leads me, to today's topic. As I just mentioned, kind of mentioned the convention that I was at, and these public classes that I'm teaching and stuff like that. And so today's topic is all about finding, that witchy community. I shared with you last week why I believe it's important, and then I've been thinking, not last week, but last episode, I've been thinking about how in the world do I help folks understand um, how to find it, how to go about finding it, right? I mean, that's the truth. Checking to see that episode 3. Yeah, my lovely assistant. So we're in season 2, episode 3, I guess, but whatever, we're okay, right? Um, but I'm gonna, just in case you didn't hear that episode that I'm speaking about, I want to make sure that we're all set on what I mean by a community, right? And a community is this feeling, the definition that I gave that time is this feeling of fellowship with others as a result of sharing common attitudes, interests, and goals. And so if you think about finding a witchy community, right, they're going to have common attitudes, meaning there's going to be things, in that kind of like, that witchy realm around attitudes, like what's the perspective uh, on that particular witchy path. Me personally, very eclectic, don't put my own beliefs on anyone. Some people find it very comforting to have a dogma, specific dogma that they right, so that would be kind of like an attitude. The interest is interest, like all things witchy, all things spiritual, tarot, spells, potion, like all of these kinds of things. And then goals, like what are you actually trying to achieve? And what is the purpose and the point for that community? And to me, on that witchy kind of path, there's really two. You actually want the individuals that you're going to learn and grow with, right? um, or you want the people that you're just going to really engage in that beautiful magical energetic with, in some way, shape, or form. And it can be both, but to me it's a little bit of one or the other. And so, how have I found mine in the past? And I think back in the very beginning of my journey, it was one friend. It was one friend that I happened to share that I went into a metaphysical store with, and they themselves had expressed interest in going into it as well. And so I'm pretty positive we went back, and same thing, another friend, and kind of just seeing, engaging, their interest. I think stores are a really, really fun way to kind of see. So if you're, kind of new to the path and how do I find out if my friends are interested? Ask them to walk into a local metaphysics store, see what they're drawn to, see what they're called for. Maybe they're like, no, that's not my jam, or maybe they seem really interested. And it might be a really beautiful blossoming part of your friendship there. There might be some community that you're creating with them. Um, if you do happen to find, oh yeah, a girl, I've been on this for the last 2 years, so to speak, they may have other folks that they know and understand. So you will definitely find that your friends that are kind of in this path, in this like, part of your own like little personal witchy community are going to probably introduce you to other folks, right? So that's another really great way. Another way is just try to find a way to be comfortable being the weirdo in the room. I mean, that's one of the ways that I've done it. I've mentioned it. I've talked about being a psychic before. I mean, and I'm going back to when I was in my like late teens and early 20s and stuff. And like literally being the weirdo in the room can definitely pull your people in. Another one is you might come across some type of program, or like some type of spiritual program that's very aligned with what you want to explore. It may be an educational program. It could be an actual like some type of retreat that's very much incorporates some of the things that you're interested in. I have found that a lot of folks find it more comfortable to start their journey in the spiritual side of the house, so to speak, right? Doing yoga, talking about chakras, talking about crystals, buying some incense, versus getting into the deep, the deep topics and conversation of like witchcraft and like that kind of witchy, more spelled related work. But if they're in the spiritual stuff, there's a high probability that I found that they do venture over. They just may not have really looked at the things that they've been interested in as being, part of kind of witchcraft or a witchcraft practice. And as I mentioned too, I was leading programming at a convention. And so, attending a convention, like literally finding something that refers to themselves as a convention. And I will tell you the reason why. I've done all of them. I've joined a spiritual program. I've gone through, as I said, my friends. I connected, to a coven through a friend that just did not sit well with me after a while. But I really, really, this convention was the first time I had been at it. If you're in the metro, the Southeast Michigan area or anywhere in the Midwest, it's pretty accessible. And like the pricing is so ridiculously good. You would be floored. Called Convocation. That was what I was at this past weekend. And it's hosted here locally in a city called Ypsilanti, right by Ann Arbor, Michigan, right by the University of Michigan. And I fucking loved every bit of it. I loved every bit of it. And it was my favorite. And I want you to understand why, right? Not only, Convocation considers itself pretty agnostic as far as like the path that you go down. So like you get this rich, rich environment of people that walk all sorts of various different paths. That's number one, right? Number two, they incorporate the lessons, like the learning, the ability to be able to explore different topics. And it's literally 4 days. It's a Thursday night, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And it's like the amount of topics and the things that were possible to be able to learn and explored were just unbelievable. Like these workshops were just so incredible, so incredible. But not only do they do the learning and the education piece, they also incorporate, and they look at it differently, ritual. So you have other instructors and folks that are leading like actual, esoteric occult type rituals, all the way from like healing rituals to sound rituals to like full-blown magical rituals to alchemical ritual, like it, whatever. I mean, I participated in a drumming ritual, a ecstatic qigong ritual. I led 2 different rituals of my own. A water ceremony. I mean, it was so unbelievably nourishing because not only, like I said, was I able to go in and learn, I was able to go in and participate in a ritual with and see how all of these really beautifully, deeply spiritual folks were embracing their own paths. They put a call out for folks. So if you have interest in, teaching, leading, anything of that nature, the probability of being able to step in, they love bringing new folks in. And yeah, and so the amount of different paths, the amount of different people, the learning, the literal ritual, everything that they did, right? For the participants was incredible. But you want to know the thing that I really adored the most about it? They had programming for kids and teenagers. For real. They literally indicate whether or not the workshops or rituals are, okay for all ages, for number one. But they have separate like programming specifically for kids. Some of them were like really good, and I wished I was going. It's like, dang. They had one that went through the myths of, I forget which it was, but they ended up walking around the hotel in the conference space, banging drums with like the old horse's head. It's like a old, I think, Slavic type of mythology. But yeah, it was unbelievable. And so just, yeah, I don't even know. I don't, it was my favorite, and those are all of the reasons why. But of course, this isn't just me talking to you about the things that I like. It's why is this important for you to be hearing and to understanding and to kind of be thinking about, spending some time thinking about, let's be real. And so I taught a class this week that was like an introduction to alchemy class. And in the beginning of the class, I asked folks, I said, what brought you to this class today? Introduce yourself and what brought you to the class. And most of the individuals in that room, I think there were 11 of them total, I would say probably at least 8 of them stated it was because they were curious. They saw it in the program, in the class offerings, and they were curious. They felt like they were being called. They had a desire for something different in their life, but they couldn't quite put their finger on what to do or how to go about it or anything of that nature. And the reality is there was a couple of folks in that group that were probably in really good places in their life, that they'd been doing some work and they really wanted to have a little bit more of a formal understanding of maybe some next steps that they could take. But there were some other folks in that group that were they were struggling. I could tell they were struggling. I even spoke to my partner last night and I said, I could see the stink on some of these individuals. Right. I mean, that's like how it kind of shows up. People, somebody asked me, like, can I read an aura? And I'm like, yeah, but these auras don't just show up as like colors sometimes to me. Like that energetic, understanding can feel a certain way, right? It can feel heavy or sticky or, gross or anything. But it can also smell sometimes to me, which now is triggering a whole other set of thoughts. But in the class, we were probably about 3/4 of the way, and someone had asked, somebody had said like, hey, you mentioned about like being in low vibration or in high vibration and things of that nature. Like, what can someone that is struggling to kind of step into where they want to be, to take the actions that they want to take, to really find the motivation to do any of these changes? What is something that they can do to help? Right? Because that's the reality. We may be sitting on the couch or laying in bed going, I want something different. I want something different. I want something different. I'm miserable. I'm unhappy. And we may be stuck in a bout of depression or even like paralyzed by anxiety and unable to kind of take action. And so I thought about it a bit there, when they'd asked the question, and I talked to my guides, and there were 2 things that came up to me. And I remember it was probably the shame of what I did in my rock bottom episode at my 40th birthday that catapulted me into taking some action. And so it can, shame or guilt can trigger you to take action, but it's not long sustaining, right? You've got to change. You got to do some internal changes to make efforts like that long term and long standing. And so the number one thing that I had said, there were 2 things. One was establishing a habit of gratitude. finding more opportunities to be grateful rather than to complain. Right. And so this could be very intentionally writing that down on a daily basis, writing like, waking up in the morning and saying one thing, or, at the end of the day, writing 10 things that you were grateful for during the day, or just, there is the really beautiful practice of like when you are with people, like this is a really beautiful way to do gratitude, being like telling folks, I'm so grateful for that help. I appreciate you so much, like literally kind of spewing it out. So that gratitude is going to help to raise your energetics to a baseline that is much more powerful than pretty much anything else that you can be doing. So that's really, really, really important. That practice of gratitude. I start my week with my team with it every single Monday morning, right? And I practice gratitude on a regular basis. It's something that's very important to me to be able to recognize the things that I'm grateful for. And even if I find myself like in this like kind of like the that monkey brain that starts to like go around and look at and pick everything apart and stuff, I'll try to quickly shift and switch to practicing gratitude. But the second thing is kind of our topic of today, and even of the last episode, which is surround yourself with some good folks, with folks that are in, on your path, that are like you would consider community, right? Surround yourself with a higher vibrational community, or a community that knows and understands how to bring and raise vibration up. That's why I'm sharing this with you. That's why I'm sharing how to find these communities, right? Is because if you yourself happen to be struggling to bring about change within your life, there are two ways that you can do that. That gratitude is one of them, and it's going to get you to a really good place. But when you tend to stumble, when things feel a little bit tough or a little bit harder, that's where that community starts to come into play. And this is why 12-step programs, AA, NA, any of those kind of programs, that's why they tell you to kind of keep coming back, lean on the community, lean into the community, don't lean away from it. Things like addiction, depression, anxiety, these are diseases, of the mind that thrive on isolation. The more you isolate, the more likely you are to succumb to things like depression, anxiety, and addiction. Okay? So I believe community is really fucking important. Really fucking important. And I don't mean you've got to have 25,000 people. I don't even mean that you need to have 5 people. It could be a matter of having 2 really good individuals that that you can lean on. And these are healthy individuals. These aren't folks that are going to let you be a victim, right? These aren't folks that are going to persecute you or continuously rescue you, right? These are folks that, love you and love you for your sovereign self. So how do you go about finding it? As I had mentioned before, some of the ways that I've done it, you could check your friends, you could connect with other friends through your friends, but you could actually do a search. You could search for a convention in your area, a witch convention, a pagan convention, a spiritual convention, something of that nature. See if there's something nearby. Figure out if you want to take some time off to actually go travel to one. We will be hosting again here in the Metro Detroit Midwest area convocation again next year, probably in February. You could make that decision. Take a look now. Think about something for the fall, for the winter. You may want to save up. You may need to save up. What if you do want to travel, right? Set aside $100 every paycheck and you can actually take a little road trip and pay for your ticket for a convention, right? You might also be able to look up holistic fairs, find some things that are going on at a holistic fair that's near you, a psychic fair. I know for me, the individuals that are running the psychic and holistic fairs around me have started adding workshops and seminars in to the cost of the ticket. So you might be able to sit in there in a group and talk to some folks and meet a couple of individuals there. Speaking of meeting individuals, Meetup, that's another application that you can take a look at. That often will have folks that they're maintaining groups that are online and they're hosting events. Sometimes they're virtual, sometimes they're in person. Eventbrite, that's another one. Facebook groups local to your area. Or maybe you're an introvert like me and you really love and dig and adore the virtual stuff. Like I really do love it. I mean, I love the in-person stuff, but I love having the ability to hop on something virtually. I lead a lot of virtual things. So with that being said, I cannot emphasize this enough that if you are trying to bring about some type of change within your life, to go find yourself a community, right? They are going to help you navigate that change in ways that you probably couldn't even imagine. You probably couldn't even imagine. So, with that being said, my dear sweet friends, until next time, much love from me to all of you. Oh, and P.S. Yes, I do have a community. Feel free to search it out if you think that you'd like to join. So, until next time, my dear friends, much love from me to all of you.